We're nearing the end now as The Bachelor approaches fantasy suites, or as Zach puts it, no sex week. But will the temptations, as the preview implies, be too much for him to overcome? Will he pull a Clayton and watch his season fall apart? Well, let's take a look at this fantasy suite preview and see what we can sleuth out. And, as per usual, please, no posting any spoilers in the comment section below unless you can back it up with sleuthing, and a link to the full, unedited preview is in the description.
We're flying!
I am so in love, and I can't wait to share it.
I have never felt this way in my entire life.
I have 3 incredible relationships with 3 incredible women.
So here we're getting a look at each of the fantasy suite dates in Thailand for next week. Gabby's and Katie's we've already seen from past previews, with Ariel's being new. Not much information to go off here, but remember, there's still 2 more episodes and 2 more dates to go. So if we see any of these women on a second date not seen here, that means they're locked in for the final 2.
I'm falling in love with you, and I can tell you 10 million times again and again. I could see myself spending the rest of my life with any of them.
I definitely am falling in love with you.
But how do I make a decision when my heart is being pulled in separate directions?
Okay, pausing here to jump off what I said earlier, as in this section we potentially see multiple dates for Gabby and for Katie, but not for Ariel. Check out Gabby's bathing suit in the water here, and then here in this different shot with Zach. Different outfits for different dates. Then there's Katie here in this outfit, where earlier she was wearing black. However, the footage with Ariel is all of her in white, like here in this tuk-tuk, and then here in this latest section of the preview. So Ariel may indeed be falling in love with Zach, but this, unfortunately, looks to be her last date with him. Moving on.
Real feelings are at stake, and everything can change in a day, in a night. This week is viewed as sex week. This is the week where can hit the fan.
Alright, so this preview is going to be working overtime to try and get us to believe that something wildly dramatic is going to happen. Like Zach saying anything can change in a day, in a night? One tempting fantasy suite is all it takes to have this season fall apart. But as we go ahead with this preview and the no sex week stuff, I'm having a hard time trusting any of it. But let's see.
It's not conventional, but I decided if there will be no sex of any kind for fantasy suites.
You're really going to be able to pull this off? Because you are going to be tempted.
Zach is looking delicious tonight.
So this is the big setup for our finale. Zach, channeling the life force of his batch bro Sean Lowe, is committed to becoming a born-again bachelor and not having sex in the fantasy suite. However, the preview is already starting to imply that Zach might not keep his vow, and I think they want us to believe that Ariel will be the one he slips up with. But let's continue.
This is such a magical moment.
It feels so right with him.
Something really special happened.
What's going on? Talk to me.
Waking up this morning, I've had this pit in my stomach.
Okay, now before we get into this Zach confession moment, we do see Zach entering the fantasy suite with each of his final 3 women. So his no sex week commitment doesn't mean he turns down spending the night with them. Which makes sense. Even if you're not getting physical, this is still valuable time together. Doesn't mean there won't be temptations though. They even pepper in these otherworldly sound bites of Zach and the women saying stuff like, "This moment is so special," to up the idea that Zach will get caught up in everything and maybe do something he didn't plan to. And then Zach wakes up with a pit in his stomach. But let's hear what he has to say.
I feel like I let myself down, and I feel like I let the women down by saying one thing and doing another.
It's not fair. What the am I supposed to feel? Why am I putting myself through this pain? I don't know why I'm doing it to myself.
Alright, so let's start to unpack this. First off, let's go back to this statement Zach made at the beginning of this section. Take note of any splices in the audio and where the camera cuts.
I feel like I let myself down, and I feel like I let the women down by saying one thing and doing another.
So there's a clear cut in the audio when Zach goes from "I let the women down by" and saying one thing and doing another. Obviously, the preview wants us to think he feels guilty for telling everyone he wasn't going to have sex this week, but then he does. So naturally, after years of being misled by these previews, I don't trust it one bit. But we'll go over a number of possibilities as to what could be going on here once we get through the rest of this preview. For now, we'll take note of this meltdown Gabby seems to be having on this date, and remember, even though this date is shown in the preview for Fantasy Suites, we can't rule out that this is actually a final 2 date that takes place after Fantasy Suites. We gotta think of a lot of possibilities as we explore what goes down. But let's continue.
I don't want you to feel like I regretted anything that we did. That was a beautiful moment. It feels robbed. I'm sorry.
How am I to keep moving forward? I'm confused. I feel distant from him. I'm not happy.
Yes, sowing the seeds of doubt in us with Zach's frontrunner. Don't bet on anything happening to Katie though, as we know she's getting that final 2 date, and also, based on this shot from the previews that we've talked about before, she'll be meeting Zach's family. But one thing to note here, in this moment, with Zach saying, "I don't want you to feel like," followed by it cutting to Ariel and him saying, "I regretted anything," more implications that they want us to think he slept with Ariel. Here, he's wearing what appears to be the same blue shirt from this date with Gabby. So, in this moment, he's actually talking to her, which is pretty important, as on this date with Zach in the blue shirt, we also see Gabby in this outfit, one that seems to match the outfit she's wearing when she has this meltdown. But we get a little more context to this in the next section, so let's keep going.
I literally just want to go home.
Coming into this, I wanted to do the right thing. I went with my head, not my heart. And that was the worst thing I could have done.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, him saying I went with my head and not my heart is kinda giving me the vibes that all this drama and people being upset actually might have to do with Zach not wanting to have sex with anyone. That, or he does something like sends Ariel home and later wishes he kept her over someone else like Gabby. Like, is it possible that Zach being so upfront about not wanting to have sex gets the women feeling like, why don't you want to have sex with me? I mean, I'm just exploring possibilities here. Like, let's jump to the preview they showed us at the end of Monday night's episode for a second. Take a look.
I had been intimate this week.
I feel very stupid. I feel disgusting. I feel ugly.
Now this is all very edited. We have a soundbite that seems very cut together of Zach saying, "I've been intimate," and note we don't actually see him say it, which is then followed by Gabby covered in a bunch of foliage saying she feels disgusting and ugly. I know it's all hard to pin down, but is it theoretically possible that the opposite of what's being implied happens? That it's simply the women or Gabby being upset that he doesn't want to be physical? Honestly, I just really have a tough time buying that Zach would be so cool about all this No Sex Week preview stuff if he actually made a huge mess of things. Like, remember when Clayton was carted out during his women tell-all after everything he did? He looked absolutely mortified. Zach, however, is joking and laughing with Jesse Palmer about No Sex Week and all this stuff. So it can't be that bad, right? And even in this latest section of the preview, we do see Zach consoling and kissing Gabby as she's upset on this date. But alright, let's finish off this preview and then go over theories for this ending.
I've caused pain, and I've made mistakes, but true love is worth fighting for. Just trying to figure this out.
And there the preview ends, on Zach trying to figure this out in what seems to be the final roast ceremony location, as his suit here matches the one we've seen from the season preview. Now, one thing I want to say while we're here is that there's been a number of clips with Zach at the end of his season looking distraught. Of course, the most obvious explanation being that he just broke up with his runner-up. But I'm kinda wondering if there's a possibility that his final 2 pick just didn't show up. Do I actually think that's likely? Well, no. I still think the most likely outcome is his runner-up arrives and he's just broken up with her. But I'm also still trying to think of all the possibilities, and maybe with this Gabby moment, maybe if it's true that he sleeps with someone during Fantasy Suites, perhaps Gabby could be his runner-up and after everything, decides to ghost him. But that seems too dramatic to be true, especially for this season, so I still wouldn't bet on it. But okay though, let's now go over how this thing could be ending. First off, Ariel will be going home next week. Apart from the sleuthing we've done already, Monday night's preview gave us this moment, which looks like Ariel in a rose ceremony outfit saying goodbye to Zach. So expect her to go. Which leaves the rest of this mess. So really, there are only two possibilities here. Either Zach slept with someone, or he didn't. If he didn't, Gabby being upset could be because of what we discussed earlier, or something completely different that we just can't know right now. And Katie being upset, I think, is likely just nerves leading up to the finale and worrying that Zach might love someone else. Especially considering everything they've built up with her already about how all the men in her life up to this point have left her. Now, if Zach did sleep with someone and break his promise, I'd wager it's not Gabby who he theoretically has sex with. And also, remember that this date could be the one before Fantasy Suites, or it could also be their final 2 date. We know, at the very least, Gabby does make it to the night portion of their date and the Fantasy Suite with no problem. So, if this happens before the Fantasy Suite, whatever goes down ends up not being a big deal. If it happens after, well, we'll see. Which leaves either Ariel or Katie as the woman he breaks his promise with, if he does do that. I'd say it makes more sense that if he were to sleep with anyone, it'd be Katie. She seems to be his frontrunner right now, and if he does sleep with her, then she's going to be his final pick. That's the only way that him being so cool about the drama from the previews makes sense to me, if what the previews are implying is actually true.
All right, so Zach, without giving too much away, what can Bachelor Nation expect from what's coming up?
After watching that, sheesh.
As I see it, him being happy and joking about it all right here only makes sense if the person that he sleeps with ends up being the person he's currently engaged to. And I guess if we're really going out there, if he did sleep with Gabby, and I don't think he did, this would have to be him telling Gabby something like he doesn't regret it, but it shouldn't have happened.
I don't want you to feel like I regretted anything that we did.
But really, I honestly don't trust a lick of this. These previews have tried to throw us off too many times. Plus, Zach's all about the no drama. And while a part of me is hoping to see a wild ride for the end, I don't know, it just might not be as dramatic as we think. So that's it for this preview breakdown for Week 9 and Fantasy Suites. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe for more, and let me know your thoughts for the next week and the finale in the comments section below. And until next time, Bachelor Fantake out.
I went with my head, not my heart. And that was the worst thing I could have done. I've caused pain, and I've made mistakes, but true love is worth fighting for.